Hello, welcome to the channel. If you clicked on this video, then you probably need help making some sourdough. You're probably very overwhelmed, starting out, have no idea what to do, have seen different things from different people. I am going to walk you through step by step how to make your first loaf of sourdough. This is for people who haven't had much experience making sourdough loaves, are a little bit confused, just need a helping hand to guide them through it. We are going to go step by step on how I make a sourdough loaf. And again, I'm not an expert. This is called chaotic sourdough for a reason. I feel like with sourdough, you kind of just have to figure things out as you go. A lot of the things that they don't tell you is that everything is a little bit different and the rules aren't necessarily as hard and fast as they always make them. There are definitely certain things that are helpful to listen to, pay attention to, whatever, but it's not always going to be exactly the way things need to be every time. You know what I mean? So let's do this together. The first thing that you're going to need is obviously a bowl, some active and bubbly sourdough starter. Also, a scale is very helpful, very helpful. If you don't have one, you can figure it out, but it's worth it if you're gonna be making sourdough very often. It's very worth it. And also some bread flour. Specifically, bread flour is going to be very helpful for this whole situation. Okay, so in terms of the starter, I'm not gonna walk you through starter. That, you can find someone else's video to do that. There's some basic things that I can help you with in general, which is that it needs to be active. It should be at least doubled from when you have set it up. So as you can see, mine has just about doubled. I would prefer it to be a little bit higher personally, but this is where we're at right now. So we're gonna take it. The thing that you're gonna wanna do so that you have active sourdough starter in the morning when you're starting this out. By the way, it's the morning. Actually, it's a little bit later in the day than I would have personally liked to have started this, but this morning was a little chaotic, so it is what it is. You're going to want to feed this starter the night before. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to get your beautiful sourdough starter in a jar. You're gonna put in some flour, about as much as there is starter, and you're gonna put in some water, a little bit less, so that when you mix it up, it's probably going to be approximately like a thick pancake batter texture. That's the ideal situation. I think I made mine a little too watery last night. I didn't add enough flour, but that's okay, because it's still gonna be fine. That's pretty much all you're gonna wanna do. And then you're just gonna set it down and let it rise overnight. When you wake up, it's gonna be at least doubled, if not more. I mean, definitely my starter could be more active. I'm not saying that this is the ideal situation, but it's gonna work, so we're just gonna go with it. Basically, all you're gonna do is when you wake up, as early as possible, ideally, and it's best to have the whole day free to do this, or at least in my experience. So maybe like set it up on a Friday night and then Saturday when you don't have work or whatever. If you have like a regular schedule. I don't. It's kind of a bit chaotic when I make sourdough because it's just like, oh, do I have a free day tomorrow? Okay, let's go. So this is the ratio. This is what we're gonna do. 100 grams of starter, active sourdough starter. So make sure it's bubbly, it's ready to go, and we're gonna do 100 grams. Okay, and then you're going to want to do 350 grams of water. Some people say it's best to do filtered water. Some people say it's best to do warm water, blah, 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 whatever. I just usually use the leftover water from the kettle earlier in the morning. That's as close to filtered water as I'm getting because I don't have a water filter and I'm not gonna buy one. 350 grams of water. The warm definitely helps the situation. So anyways, now you just have a nice little bowl of sourdough starter and water, and you're just gonna whisk it up so that it's like one texture. Yeah, just mix it. Mix it so that the sourdough starter is fully incorporated into the water. I always find it to be a good sign if it is a little bit bubbly, just because I feel like that's how you know like things are activating, things are going, things are ready. So now that I have a bowl of milky sourdough water, I'm going to put the flour in. It's really like we're just going. You start by just putting the dough together. It's very simple and straightforward. So I'm going to put 510 grams of bread flour. Now that we have everything together, you're just gonna stick your hand in there and mix everything around. There are fancy tools that you can use, like bread whisks or whatever, but honestly, I feel like the best thing to do is kind of, let me see if I can, of course I'm trying to do this when my hand is already covered in fucking bread. When she said chaotic, she meant it, everyone. Oh my gosh. So it's kind of like a scooping stuff off the sides because I don't want that much dough to be stuck to the sides, and then like folding it in. You know, each person's gonna have their own feel of how to do this, and no matter what you do, whether you use a tool or your hands, the dough is going to be sticky at the start. So just do the best you can. Anyways, then you're going to let your ball of dough sit for 10 minutes. I just did. And you're going to add some salt into there, okay? It's supposed to be a certain amount of grams of salt, like 10 or 12 grams. I just sprinkle it in with my heart because my scale is not that good. So it's probably about like a teaspoon of salt. I don't know. Mix it around. Okay, so this would be a good time to start utilizing your vague stretch and fold technique, which I will show you how to do right now. Okay, basically what you're gonna wanna do is just pull up and over and then just do that. Can you see what I'm doing? Do that each time. So with your ball of dough basically just looking like a cute little bow, what you're gonna wanna do now is cover it up and let it rest for about an hour. And every single hour, what you're gonna wanna do is some stretch and folds a few times throughout the day. And don't worry, I will walk you through that. So I will see you back here in an hour. You see, things have happened. It is a bit flatter, a bit poofier. It's unfortunately about 2 hours after. That is not necessarily ideal. I'm just getting it away from the bowl right now. And then I'm going to be stretching and folding into the center. Stretch, fold, stretch, fold, stretch, fold. So, looks like that now. Gonna be putting this back on it. Gonna wait another hour only instead of letting it go 2 hours for another stretch and fold. Because you should do a couple before you do your bulk rise, bulk ferment, whatever. So I'm gonna leave that for another hour, do another stretch and fold, and then we'll see what it looks like. Basically, it depends on what your situation is, like where you're at in the world, how warm it is, whatever. It's a decently warm-ish day, not too hot, not too cold, and it's like really nice in the apartment right now. So it's going very well for me. That's not always gonna be the case. During winter, everything takes twice as long, which is kind of why I stopped doing sourdough in the winter, just because everything was super unpredictable. So that was our first stretch and fold. I will be back in an hour. Long story short, I'll be back in an hour. Okay. Okay, everyone. So ideally, you will have wanted to do more stretch and folds, but life got a little away from me today. I'm not even gonna lie, but I'm gonna prove to you that even if things happen and you're not able to do all that you want to be doing in terms of the dough and everything, that it's gonna turn out just fine. My suggestion, if you work a regular 9-to-5 job, is to wake up at like 6 or 7, maybe whenever you would regularly be getting up, mix the dough together, let it sit for 10 minutes, do the autolyse and everything, which I forgot to explain why I was letting it sit for 10 minutes. It's so that the gluten can form or something. I don't know. I think it's called autolyse. You can look that up. Then you add the salt in. You know, we already did that together. Then you let it sit for half an hour, do stretch and fold, let it sit for another hour, do another stretch and fold, maybe right before you leave for work, another stretch and fold if you have the time. If not, that's fine. Come back from work, and then it'll look like this. I don't know how well I'm gonna be able to show this, but very, very jiggly and bubbly, okay? It's probably not the most ideal scenario that it's this sticky, But I think that's just because I personally used really high hydration starter. So don't worry about that. It should be fine. But all I know is that after you bulk ferment, which is what we just did, it should be very big and very jiggly and very bubbly. So if it is all three of those things after you have done a couple of stretch and folds and just let it sit on your counter for a few hours doing its own thing, that is when you want to turn it out onto your counter, basically. And because we have an unfinished wood countertop, I'm just going to put it onto this and roll it out from there. I bought this little tea thing, and I just usually scoop a tiny bit of flour and use it. It is literally the best, like, $2 I ever spent for my sourdough game. It works like a charm. Okay, so basically what's gonna happen, sorry that you can't really, like, see this situation of what's going on here. Okay, so you can see this. I'm going to turn my dough out. In complete honesty, it should be easier than this. So when it's doing that, that suggests that your dough is a little bit on the sticky side, maybe not 1,000,000% ready to be turned out. But at the same time, it's the end of the day. What am I going to do except get this dough on the road? Am I right? Okay, but again, because we're doing it the chaos method, the way that is like very forgiving and everything's gonna be okay, this is gonna be fine, okay? I've done this many times. We're just going to be folding this dough into itself. I don't want to pop the bubbles too much, but I do want to get some good tension on this. There are many different ways that you can go about doing this, and I'm sure that people are gonna be watching this and saying that I'm doing it wrong or this is not a good way to do it. Honestly, I've done it this way a bunch of times and it has never steered me wrong. All you're gonna wanna do is just make sure that your dough has enough tension. So kind of just like pinch it up into a ball. Again, there's lots of ways that you could be doing this. This is just the way that I happen to do it. And if you think it's wrong, that's fine, but it works for me. I never said that I was an expert. In fact, at the beginning of this video, I said that I wasn't an expert. I'm not much more than a fucking beginner, if I'm being totally honest with you. But I'm a beginner that cares about other beginners. And I just want to prove to someone that just because it's not done perfectly does not mean that it can't be done at all. Because I think the thing that was so intimidating for me at the start of my sourdough journey was that I was worried that I was gonna make a mistake and that if I fucked something up, that the whole sourdough loaf wouldn't turn out. And I'm just here to tell you that even if you do it in a really chaotic way, like I do, everything's gonna be fine. Like, it's really gonna be okay. The dough's like gonna turn out fine. The bread's gonna be totally edible. Life is gonna move on and you're gonna be okay. The thing that helps me through this, if your dough is a little bit too sticky, is just continuing to flour it a little bit. Sometimes if you like have a better surface to do this, there's like a way that you can like, you know, add more tension by like doing this little rolly thing, like kind of like a grab and, you know, pull thing. I don't really do that. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I don't really have the surface for it. So I'm just gonna pin this up one more time to get a little bit more surface tension, because that's really the thing that's important here. So don't be afraid to manhandle your dough a little bit. You're gonna pop a few bubbles, but in general, everything's gonna be great. And then what you're gonna do is get a different bowl or the same one, you do you. I like using this bowl because it's a bit more round. Why is nothing focused? Hold on. Okay, are we still on track, everyone? Are we still following? Again, I really just like pinch this doodaddy all the way up so that there's some tension. It's a tiny bit ugly on the bottom, but who cares? When was the last time I did this? I don't remember. This might be wrong. I might be remembering this wrong, and if I am, I will adjust on the screen. But again, the stakes are low, and everything's gonna be okay. Remember, we're doing a chaos loaf. Everything's gonna be fine. We're beginners, and it's gonna be okay. You're gonna flour the loaf, flour the towel. Okay, wait, did I explain this? We're getting a bowl, we're putting a towel in it because we don't have a banneton. Because who has one? Unless you're a baker or someone that does this all the time. You're gonna go seam down, okay? I think. If I'm wrong, I will share that information and correct myself. But either way, it's gonna be fine. You're gonna flour the hell out of this ball of dough right now. Okay, then you're gonna put this little ball of dough to bed. And then what I like to do is just cover it with a plate. And this is gonna go in your fridge all the way overnight again. This is a multiple day process, y'all. This part is the easy part because you can put this in your fridge and leave it. The longer you leave it in the fridge, the more sour it's going to taste. So if you like your sourdough, really like soury sourdough, I would suggest putting it in your fridge and waiting like 2 days before you like bake it. I usually do that because I'm like just doing it all at once, and then I put it in and I'm like, okay, I'll bake the sourdough when I want bread. I want bread tomorrow, so I'm gonna be baking this in the morning with you guys. At this point, time is up to you. The other thing that you might need, sorry I didn't say this before, is a Dutch oven. That is very helpful. If you don't have one, theoretically there are other ways to get around it, but honestly, your life is just a million times easier if you have a Dutch oven already. So I definitely suggest having one. If you don't know what that is, it's basically just this. I got mine for $15 on the side of the street in New York City. So anyways, I'm gonna put this girl to bed and I will see you in the morning. Everything's gonna be fine. Don't worry about it. It's gonna be fine. Hello. Have I been wearing this sweatshirt the entire time that I've been making this video? Yes. Do I care? No. So anyways, let's get on to the baking portion of this video. You're gonna unwrap your little baby. Aww, she's so cute. Definitely did that wrong. Yep, I definitely did that wrong. It's literally, guys, it's been since December since I made a sourdough loaf. I have some parchment paper and I have my loaf, which I'm now realizing, now that the seam is up, that when I flip it over, I place it down and the seam is supposed to be on the top. So I did that wrong, sorry. This looks fine to me though. Okay, so there we go. And again, there's a really, really good chance that I'm probably forgetting steps, like not doing things right. Hey, this is my truth and I'm gonna live it, okay? This is how I make sourdough. And I think it's really easy and it turns out great every time. So I don't need to be doing all this crazy stuff and like making my life a million times more complicated, because that's just not the kind of vibe that I live my life with, okay? So I'm getting my little $1 or $2 tea strainer thing that I bought from H Mart, and I'm gonna be flouring my dough. This is the step that I constantly forget, okay? So I'm really glad that I'm actually remembering to do it right now. What a shocker to literally everyone involved. And then you just rub the flour on to the dough, because then you get a really good contrast on the dough. Okay, then this is the part where, again, guys, it really doesn't have to be fancy. If you have a super sharp knife, that works as well. Our knives are super dull, So I just have this tiny little razor blade that I just keep in my little sourdough area. And what you're gonna wanna do is just like slice into the dough so that it has the room to expand. The thing that I did wrong with this when I first started, see, I am giving you guys helpful tips. I'm not all just chaos, okay? The thing that I did wrong with this when I started was that I was not going deep enough. Really, go deeper than you think, okay? Okay, go deeper than you think because I was not doing it correctly. There's like a lot of different ways you can do this. I feel like I'm just gonna go very simple, straightforward. I feel like a lot of people do like a nice cut like that. Slice in one more time so that it's a little bit deeper. There we go. Because then it has more room to expand and then it won't crack and then your design will be like cute. And then I'll do like little slits here because those will kind of turn into like little leaf designs. And I just find that a razor is better for this, but you do you, babe. You do you. People have those ones where it's basically just a razor on a stick, but like I'm fine with just this, you know what I mean? Okay, so now that I have my thing set up, what we're going to do is get this Dutch oven empty, okay? Put it in the oven, okay? Preheat the oven to 475 degrees Fahrenheit and put this in there. And you might be asking me, hey, wait, what about preheating? It's supposed to preheat in there so that it's hot. To be fair, the best case scenario is probably taking this out and putting it out like right before you're gonna put it into the oven. But honestly, whatever, it's fine. It's gonna be okay, guys. It's gonna be okay. So I'm gonna leave that there. That's gonna preheat, and then I will come back and see you in a second. We're gonna put it in, bake it, and I'll walk you through the whole baking process. We're almost done, guys. We're on the final stretch. We got this. It is preheated. Let me just plop that in there. Lid back on and place it in there for 30 minutes. Okay, it's 30 minutes later. I am going to take the lid off and reduce the heat to 425 degrees Fahrenheit, okay? Take out the lid. 20 more minutes. 20 more minutes have passed. Here's the moment of truth. Oh my goodness. What? And see, I went really deep with my scoring and I could have gone deeper. You see how like right there it like tore a bit? There's a really good chance that the bottom is a tiny bit crispy because I still haven't 100% figured out how to not make that happen. However, I think there are secret little tricks and hacks in order to not make that happen, and it probably has to do with something about putting an ice cube in there, blah blah blah, whatever. I don't know. I think if you put an ice cube in at the beginning when you like set your dough up and everything, it kind of builds some steam and it makes the crust softer. So if you like a softer crust sourdough, that's probably the way to go. I've really only tried it one time and I had mixed results, so do with that information what you will. Anyways, now that you have your beautiful, perfect loaf of sourdough, the thing that you're gonna wanna do is not cut it yet, okay? Do not cut your sourdough loaf for a few hours or you will ruin every ounce of work that you just put towards making this sourdough. It is way too hot right now. You will ruin your loaf if you cut into it right now. So let it cool for a few hours and then cut into it, okay? I don't know when I want to cut into mine, so I will see you when I cut into the loaf and we can see what we did together. And I will prove to you that you really don't have to be as scared of making a sourdough loaf as everyone makes you feel like you need to be, okay? This is the living proof that you can be chaotic and do a sourdough loaf without having all the bells and whistles, okay? It all turned out fine. Turned out great, in fact. No one's ever been mad at my sourdough loaves. They've always said they tasted delicious, so who's laughing now? One thing that I am gonna do is take it out of the Dutch oven so it can like properly cool down. Yeah, okay, see, the bottom is a tiny bit burnt, but honestly, not so bad. Look! That's a good loaf. Nice, crispy crust. This looks like a loaf of sourdough, does it not? It had a nice rise. It's beautiful. It smells amazing. I'm proud of myself. This is the first time that I've done a loaf in like 4 months. And before that, I only had like 4 months of experience. It's not hard, guys. It's not hard. If I can do it, and arguably, it took me a really long time to become a decent baker. Like, really the only thing that I can bake is cookies and now bread. Anyways, we did it. We did it, guys. We did it. Hello, good morning. Okay, let's cut open this beautiful loaf of bread. Obviously, it's the next morning. I'm just gonna cut it straight down the middle. Honestly, it's softer than I thought, which is good. The bottom is kind of hard, so that's always the hardest part to cut. Moment of truth. Honestly, that looks great. I'm happy with it. And it smells so good. Again, I would have maybe preferred to leave it overnight for a little bit longer. Like another day, usually, just because that makes it taste like really sourdoughy sourdough. But if you don't like it as sour, just do it overnight and then cook it the next day. But anyways, that's it. We've completed our sourdough journey together. I really hope that this video has inspired you to try to make sourdough or to break out that starter that you have in the back of your fridge that you've been too nervous to use or whatever. I think really sourdough is not as confusing and scary as people make it out to be, and I was very intimidated when I first started. You kind of just have to dive right in. Like, don't be afraid. If it gets fucked up, then that's what happens. It's fine. I am rooting for you. Everything's gonna be fine. If you can see how chaotic I did my loaf and it still turned out okay, just follow the like verbal instructions. Don't worry too much about the timeline. Give yourself a day, like the full day, to kind of keep your eye on the loaf for the first one especially. And then once you get better, you can like coordinate it with your work schedule or whatever if you want to just make a loaf during the week or something. But just make sure you're following the basic cardinal rules of like putting the dough together, waiting 10 minutes to add the salt, letting it sit for 30 minutes, doing a stretch and fold. Every hour-ish, just do another stretch and fold, and then after a couple of those, just let it sit on your counter for a couple of hours, maybe more than a couple, like 4 or 5, I don't know. Depends on your weather, so it's really, you have to pay attention to it till it's doubled and very bubbly and very jiggly. Dump it out, tension, tension, tension. Put it into a bowl, flour it, put it in the fridge overnight, and then there you go. A loaf of bread. Thanks so much for watching the video. I will see you in the next one. Until then, I'm sending you all my love because we're all just trying our best out here. And sometimes you get a loaf of bread out of it. So I'll see you later. Bye.